This is a Pele Media podcast.
Welcome back to Goonies Minute, everybody. Goonies Minute is the fan podcast where we carefully explore the movie Goonies minute by minute. I'm Brady.
And this is Chris.
And today we are here to go over minute number 55 of the Goonies. You want to get into Goonies Minute?
I want to get into the minute.
Let's do it. In the previous minute, Data presented the idea that the skeleton the Goonies have just discovered might be Chester Copperpot. Bran tells Mikey to check the skeleton's wallet. At minute 55, Mikey opens the wallet and finds the operator's license. He confirms that it is indeed Chester Copperpot. As the gang all begin to freak out, Mikey notices something in the skeleton's bag. He removes them and excitedly announces that he has found candles. What he fails to notice is the word dynamite clearly written on one of them. Data takes the dynamite and says that he's going to devise a way to tell if the Fratellis are gaining on them. As the minute ends, Mikey finds a stone piece strung around the skeleton's neck. It is in the shape of a skull. And thus ends minute 55 of the Goonies. All right, so today we have them validating the fact that this skeleton is Chester Copperpot. In the previous minute, they weren't sure, and they needed somebody to clarify that. And Mikey, of course, being the real adventurer, pulled out the dude's wallet and found his operator's license, not his driver's license.
The real adventurer / non-coward. Mm-hmm. I said before, I would have thought that Bran should have been the one being the elder statesman of the crew, but it would have been out of character for him to be the one to check to see if that was really Chester Copperpot.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised Mikey didn't not want to show him. I would see that he'd look at that, see it's Chester Copperpot, and it's like, man, maybe I don't want to show this to the entire group.
exactly.
And you see the different reactions when he reveals to the crew that it is Chester Copperpot.
Yeah, it seems like he shouldn't be showing Mouth anything at this point. Mouth is just a complete, panic.
He's either, it's like I don't know if he's overselling or overacting the fact that he's frightened, but my goodness. Because he's really not even saying anything hardly, but he was just cowering. But then again, I don't know how I'd be in that situation.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing, too, is Mouth is kind of a self-proclaimed badass, so to see him kind of getting his own.
That's what
happens. Exactly, yeah.
You take that badass or that bully and you put them in a situation where they really have to face reality. A lot of times they cower.
Yeah, absolutely.
And someone who really steps up in this situation is Data.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say that whenever Mikey hands him the candles and clearly misses the word dynamite.
Yeah, I think that word dynamite must have been just for the viewers on the silver screen.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, it's, the other dynamite sticks are just covering it enough that, it's believable that he could have overlooked it.
But they had to show that it was dynamite to us watching.
Yeah, exactly.
So, in talking more about Data taking charge, he doesn't ask Mikey, hey, can I go set the booby traps? He just does it.
Yeah.
So that's one point I wanted to make. That he's really taking charge now. He's believing, and he's not asking to do anything. Mm-hmm. And we'll find later that these booby traps that he sets really are helpful.
If there was going to be a real leader of the group outside of Mikey, it would be Data. Data just seems like the kind of person who has the mentality of an adventurer or somebody who's just always interested and fascinated by things and would want to just continue to explore or invent in his case. So I could see this movie having Data as the lead, as the main person, in the Mikey character, and are kind of filling that spot, and it would work. It would make almost more sense.
Yeah, he does a good job. He's an intelligent guy. It's just when he's got to be focused. And now that he's focused, he's taking the bull by the horns. Mm-hmm. So no question about that.
Data is, outside of Mikey, really the only one who's a real go-getter in the sense that, this is how we're going to keep pushing forward. And I know that Mikey's already convinced everybody this is what we need to do. We need, like he said earlier, the fireplace is the only way. This is... everybody was kind of sold on it at that point, but here we see Data just straight up okay, enough. Give me the candles. I'm going to go Like the way they do whatever, set the booty traps, as he calls them. And
why does he keep saying that? I mean, it was kind of funny the first time. I don't know, maybe it's worn out. It's
well, what's weird is that you think they would give that joke to just one of the characters, and Mikey was already doing that. So it's strange that they're kind of handing that off.
It's like, to me, that's more sophomoric humor for this show.
Yeah.
I don't know. I personally don't like that joke.
Well,
I think it's kind of stupid.
I think, it was just
me.
It's overdone. And it's awkward because if you're going to do that, just leave it to one character.
It might have been cute the first time, but then when you keep beating up, it's not so funny that it should be repeated that many times.
Yeah. But this movie, as we've touched on already, has some sophomoric humor to it, like Troy being on the toilet is just like, this. It just doesn't really fit in with this movie.
Right.
And it doesn't fit in with the caliber of filmmaker we have here behind the scenes. So it's a little strange, a little out of place.
But you were getting to that key.
Oh, yeah, well, they find what we call the skeleton key around Chester Copperpot's neck, and then, of course, they pull it, and the skull falls off. But I think it's really cool and important that they're giving the Goonies things to find along the way. It's not just traps they have to avoid or new interesting-looking rooms and things that they can enter through the caves, but they have artifacts that they're going to come across to help further the exploration, and in this case, it's the skeleton key. So this begs the question. Chester Copperpot had that on him. Do you think Chester Copperpot so that key he would have already had to have found, or found it outside of entering the caves to go find One-Eyed Willie's treasure? So maybe that key was like a little bit further back on their trek?
Could have been.
Yeah, it would have had to have been.
You would have thought, I mean, that's really the only way that you can, unless there was somewhere else, somebody somewhere else had been down there and got it and come back out. And,
yeah, exactly.
That would be the only thing that I could think of.
Because that key, as we're going to find out later, is part of a booby trap. It's meant to lock your hand in there.
Right.
So it's so interesting that One-Eyed Willie would be like, you know what, let's give this person this thing, present it as though it's a solution, and then they're going to get caught in another trap of mine.
And I was just trying to think of what part maybe that could have been found, and I don't know. I'm drawing a blank right now. Like, where would he possibly have found that?
I don't know. But it's kind of set up that Chester Copperpot was going around finding these elements before he went on the actual exploration. So he might have very well found that like at a whole nother...
He found it at the flea market.
He found it at the flea market. But yeah, so anyway, I think it's important that they give the Goonies little things like this to find along the way, as opposed to just having the treasure be the first thing they're going to find. They're going to be finding other elements along the way.
And I'll tell you what, who is not handling the minute well is Andy.
Yeah.
Andy is not, I think, in having that she's just had a panic attack, it's not something that you just snap your finger and be okay and calm down.
Yeah.
So Steph is doing a good job, quote unquote, consoling her in the tunnel away from everybody. I guess you think she's consoling her? And she herself is not exactly a pillar of strength. So I guess it's good that they have each other in that situation.
Absolutely.
And of course they ask Data what he's going to do, because they're probably freaking out that anybody might be leaving the group.
Yeah.
So, but he's just going to set his booby trap. So
true that. Well, that's all I have for the minute. How about you?
That's pretty much all I have.
Okay, cool. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us today for minute number 55. We'll see you back here again for minute number 56. And until then, this is Brady.
And this is Chris.
We're here to remind you that Goonies never say die. Goonies Minute is a fan-supported podcast. If you like the show, then leave us a review on iTunes. You can find us at GooniesMinute.com, Facebook.com/GooniesMinute, Twitter.com/GooniesMinute, and at Instagram at GooniesMinute. You can contact us at GooniesMinute@gmail.com. You've been listening to a Pele Media podcast. For premium content and exclusive podcasts, visit us at Patreon.com/Pele Media. Check us out on Facebook at Facebook.com/Pele Media, and follow us on Twitter at Twitter.com/Pele Media.